Tennessee Life is sponsored by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. nexttonewknox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations. knoxvilleflowerpot.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Coming up on Tennessee Life. His basketball talents led him to the NBA for 8 years, but Elston Turner makes it a priority to return to his hometown court every year to teach the next generation of players.
I came from basketball zero, backyard with a wooden backboard and a little rim and dirt.
Sunflowers aren't just to be admired for their beauty in Tennessee. They're uniting neighborhoods and much more. The Knoxville Labor Day Sunflower Project founder tells us about the artistic roots that grew into science and research.
And it just really started from a kind of whimsical idea, like a impulse, a seed. So that's the most surprising part, I think.
And meet the man who says that he is Fife for life. This Tennessean will take you back in time with his uncanny resemblance and impersonation. Those stories on this edition of Tennessee Life.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Tennessee Life. I'm Vicki Lawson. Knoxville native Elston Turner has gone from high school basketball star to the NBA, but every year he still makes time for kids on his hometown court at Austin East High School. Elston Turner has played for the Dallas Mavericks, Denver Nuggets, and Chicago Bulls, even playing beside Michael Jordan. Now he's a lead assistant coach for the Memphis Grizzlies. Stephanie Aldridge chatted with Turner about life as a pro player and the lessons he wants his campers to have on and off the court.
You're back here at Austin East High School in Knoxville, where you went to high school. Does this kind of put you back into your teenage self, take you back a little bit and bring back some good memories?
It does. It brings back a lot of good memories. It was a time where, a lot of fun, a lot of friends being made, and we won championships here. So some of my best times in my life.
And even before you were being, I guess, formally coached as a high school team, you mentioned that there was a good group of you guys who just played together for so long. I mean, had you known each other since you were little guys, and then you just really had that rapport on the court too?
That's what it was. We were friends first because we hung out. We lived in the same neighborhood, and then some of the guys went to Park Junior, which was another junior high, and we went to Vine Junior, but we all knew each other. So when we came here, we just brought those talents together. I mean, back then there was a lot more playing in the backyards.
Tell me about that, because you and your high school team, you brought in a crowd.
Yeah, we brought in a crowd. We were very fortunate to have like 9 seniors and who had been playing together for years through middle school and in the rec centers. And so when we came here, we had been together for a long time. So we had a very, very good team. The gym was much smaller than this. So the crowd, I think 300 people would fill it up. So they started playing our games at the Civic Coliseum, which is huge. And of course, that being kids playing at the Civic Coliseum, it went to our heads. We thought we were big time at that point.
Tell me about your parents, and you have a couple of siblings.
Yeah, my father was a brick mason. My mom was a housewife, both tremendous people. Taught me how to work hard, especially my dad. He was, there was no 9 to 5 in his line of work. It was like whenever the job was done. And he always had me and my brothers. I have 3 older brothers, so I'm the youngest of 4. We would go out to work with him, and I'm talking it was too hot in the summer and too cold in the winter, and days were too long, and you got a 30-minute lunch break. I mean, real hard physical work. So, and that's a little bit of what I try to relate to the kids now. You never be afraid of hard work. Never, ever be afraid to work hard, of hard work.
What's harder, two-a-days or the mason work?
Oh, that mason work. It helped me to realize what I didn't want to do for a living.
Well, it most certainly did. At what point did you realize that basketball wasn't just fun with your friends, that this was really a strength of yours?
It took a while. Now one thing that I did personally, and I always encourage campers to play every sport. When the sports changed, I was out there trying to play. So I played football, I played baseball, I ran track, and I played basketball. So it wasn't until probably my senior year in high school, I stopped playing football because I would always get hurt, and basketball followed football season, so I would miss the beginning of basketball. So right around then when I narrowed it down, I started getting real serious about it, and offers from colleges started coming in, and that's when I really started trying to just concentrate and focus on one sport.
Your senior year, people are starting to pay attention to you.
College recruiters, right? People were paying attention to our team at that time. I was able to play at the varsity, on the varsity my first year here as a freshman.
That's a big deal.
And that's a big deal. That was a big deal. And so there was some eyes on me. Had about 70 or so colleges looking, and at the time, I just wanted to concentrate on playing basketball and trying to win a championship for the group. We've been together for so long, all the guys, but I ended up going to Ole Miss, University of Mississippi. I wanted to stay in the SEC so I could come back and see my hometown.
Take me a little bit into your NBA resume from there.
I played 3 years in Dallas with the Mavericks. Then I got traded to Denver, played 2 years with Denver Nuggets, then got traded to Chicago Bulls. So I played 2 years in Chicago with the Bulls and Mr. Michael Jordan. And then I went back to Denver for one. So I had an 8-year NBA career, which was crazy. That was crazy because here, guys, closest I could get to NBA players when I was growing up was the television. And now I'm out here playing with these guys.
Is it hard to be a teammate, though, with somebody who's getting all of the recognition, who's getting all of the fame?
When you're a team player, when you're about the team, no. No, I spent most of my basketball career being the guy, this is, Elston Turner doing this. When you get to the NBA, there are other stars. And when you're concerned about winning, when winning is first, you're not concerned about who gets that print,
You were talking about, you used to see the big names in basketball just on the television, and you are providing an opportunity with your big name in basketball, coming back and doing the camp here in your hometown locally, giving the kids some basketball skills. Did you ever have any kind of a camp experience or even just a brush with a big name in basketball when you were a little kid?
We did have camps. They were put on by local coaches, local people who did not have professional experience. They did know basketball, but they didn't know what to tell me. They couldn't give me professional advice. What goes on? What do I need to do? What do I need to stay away from to get to a certain level? So to answer your question, no, there was no professional consultation, but we did attend camps. And I always said to myself, if I was able to make it, I was going to come back and give kids what I was missing. Give them advice. Look here, this is what you need to do. You're going to need this. There's no way around it. You have to have this. You better stay away from that. And try to encourage them to just listen, be good listeners, because you're not going to learn anything unless you let information in.
Tell me where you are now.
I am assistant coach, associate head coach, actually, for the Memphis Grizzlies, right here in my home state, Memphis, Tennessee. We have a good team down there, too. This will be my 18th year coaching. So I came in 4 years in Portland with the Blazers, 6 years in Sacramento with the Kings, 4 years in Houston with the Rockets, 2 years in Phoenix with the Suns, and this is my second year in Memphis with the Grizzlies.
But you still have some basketball dreams of your own.
Before I leave the game, I've been as blessed as I can be. I definitely feel I'm ready for a head coaching job. It has not happened. I've had numerous interviews, but anytime in the NBA, there's 30 jobs available. Anytime one job comes open, there's like 200 people with their name, in there. So, that's a dream of mine, of having my own team, obviously. And the other one is, whether it's my own team or not, is to at least win a championship before I retire.
Elston Turner, thank you for sharing your Tennessee life with us.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you for doing the interview and allowing me to.
Sunflowers don't just provide beauty, they're uniting neighborhoods in Knoxville, coming together to celebrate these blooms after the growing season has quickly become an annual tradition. While sunflowers tower over gardens and fill out fields with impressive displays, they also serve an important purpose when it comes to growing food. We talk about the Labor Day Sunflower Project with founder Jerry Moe.
People love sunflowers. So I think so many people come up and tell us sunflowers, my favorite flower, you know, I love sunflowers. They're common in a sense and they're strong. I'm Jerry Moe and I'm a local artist here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And my favorite thing to do as far as an artist is participatory public artwork. There are people all over Knoxville growing sunflowers for the Labor Day Sunflower Project. Today it has grown to a really big and annual Knoxville event. We have 14 different public gardens, Knoxville Botanical Gardens, IAMs, community gardens that are growing crops. I first got the idea in 2007. My wife and I moved here from Phoenix, Arizona, and we had grown a whole crop of sunflowers for our wedding ceremony as a backdrop. And so the seeds from that original project came from our wedding ceremony. And I planted a whole bunch here in Knoxville. They came up like crazy and I had a big crop of these beautiful sunflowers. And then Labor Day morning, I got thinking about work and how hard everyone is working and that this was a really beautiful holiday. I put the sunflowers and an idea of work together, went down early in the morning and wove a circle on the fence in Bellevue Park. And you know, the circle at that point was maybe this big. And it was just kind of a little gift, a little surprise for the neighbors there. And people were really responding to it. So we thought, well, let's talk to the Art Emporium and see about doing it on a First Friday for Labor Day and having an installation down there. And they were super receptive of the idea. And so then we started thinking more about the concept and that if it's this collective celebration of Knoxville's work, we wanted a central location. So we really started aiming for Crutch Park Extension in the center of downtown Knoxville. So Labor Day morning, some will bring buckets of flowers, some will bring a single flower. We'll have people bringing a truckload of flowers from a crop like this at Seven Islands. And we generally have people who are organizing the flowers, and we have scaffolding set up and ladders. We weave all the sunflowers that arrive generally and fill the circle with sunflowers. So this 15-foot by 15-foot circle is also made up of seed heads, and the seed heads then are taken down at the end. We have a winnowing party at the 4th and Gill Birdhouse Neighborhood Center, and we gather the seeds, and those are dispersed back out into the community. So the project is cyclical, much like work. Besides the beauty and just making Knoxville more beautiful, sunflowers have some interesting qualities that actually physically improve the land and the soil. What we found is that sunflowers are a heavy metal remediator, and what that means is they draw heavy metals up into their stalks and flower heads out of the ground. So if you're doing urban gardening and you get your land tested and it has a high lead content, you might not want to eat the vegetables from that land. And something that you can do, and that we're doing a research project currently at the Birdhouse, is planting sunflowers in an area and removing lead from it. So we're really excited about that as a research project. We found heavy lead in the Birdhouse Community Garden, so we have a large crop there and we have a baseline lead count, and what we'll do is keep on testing that and see how it goes down, and that garden we're hoping will be back available for the community to grow vegetables in. Another really interesting research aspect of the Labor Day Sunflower Project is that in looking at sunflowers and getting excited about sunflowers through the project, we discovered that one of the very oldest domesticated sunflower seeds that's been found anywhere in the world has been found here in what's now Tennessee. And this seed that was found at an archaeological site was 4,300 years old. So we got excited about that and thought, wow, you know, we've been doing this project, and then to find out that there's this long history of sunflowers in Tennessee. So we got a hold of the National Germplasm Center. We got the oldest seeds that we could get from them, and we got 47 of them. And we wanted an East Coast seed that seemed more applicable to what we were doing. And the seed we got was grown out by the Seneca tribe. So we planted 47 of those last year. And then from that crop, we got thousands of seeds. We had a successful crop. And we hand select for, you know, a larger or more vigorous growth. We look at it as like a Tennessee sunflower homecoming. So we are bringing a bit of Tennessee's history, pre-Tennessee, but it is a piece of old history that we're bringing back and spreading it back out. Hopefully when people go around, more sunflowers is a more beautiful Knoxville. When it's connected to our work and connected with each other in that way, it reminds us that this is a beautiful place to be and we're creating something together. I think what surprised me the most is just starting from so little and how big it's become and potentially could be more, like research projects, and the installation has become really big, and the amount of people, and it just really started from a kind of whimsical idea, like a impulse, you know, a seed.
There are people who love nostalgic television, and then there are those who live it. Sammy Sawyer has turned a love for a character and show into a career. He's devoted to keeping the beloved Barney Fife character alive. His upbringing in a small Tennessee town with a father who was chief of police certainly helped. From the police uniform and car to the uncanny impressions, you may just look twice at this Tennessee man who says he's Fife for life.
You know how preachers are.
I know you as Sammy. However, a lot of people probably know you as Barney Fife.
A lot more know me as Barney than they do as Sammy. That's true, Vicki.
So your father was chief of police at Norris, I understand. Tell me what area you grew up. Was it Norris?
It was, and I kid about it. I tell folks I was really born in the Tri-City area, but in the Knoxville area in East Tennessee, it's not the Tri-Cities most of us think of. I grew up right inside of, right between Norris, Clinton, and Lake City in Anderson County in the Peach Orchard community. And so that's where I grew up. I always refer to it as my Tri-Cities, but yeah, Daddy was chief of Norris.
You loved watching the Andy Griffith Show as a child, but I understand your father was a big influence on you.
He was. He was a tremendous influence on me because he was a lot more like Barney than I will ever be. If he'd have wanted to have been a Barney impersonator, he would have made the best I'd ever seen.
Do you have any examples of your father ever acting like Barney?
Well, there's several good examples. I'll tell you a good example. One time, me and my younger brother was at home, and Daddy was pulling up, and we thought we're going to pick at him a little bit. And we lived in a very small town. Nothing ever happened. And so we said, let's watch this when he comes in. Let's see what he does. So he came in. We said, hey, Daddy, did you shoot anybody tonight? And just on cue, just like Barney, he goes, no, I didn't have to pull this baby out of the holster, you know. And he was just like Barney. He'd come across being just like him.
So you started doing Barney Fife. Did you start doing it as a hobby, or did you go out and start acquiring work doing it as Barney Fife?
Well, I didn't start acquiring work. Obviously, I don't think you just sit out and say, hey, you know, I think I'm going to grow up and be Barney Fife. So, no, my lifelong goal was I wanted to play professional baseball. That's all I ever wanted to do. And obviously, I had a couple things going against me on that. I wasn't good enough, first of all. So I wasn't big enough or wasn't good enough. But I did it as a hobby, just from the standpoint about, you know, if you make people laugh, you know, it's like pouring gas on a fire for a comedian or a humorist. if you get an audience of one or two, or if it's 2,000 or 3,000, and they begin to laugh. And so I did it as a hobby to start with and just for fun.
Being shy, how did that work when you first started performing, doing Barney? I mean, was that hard for you?
Well, I tell you, the easiest thing about doing Barney is he's a real nervous character. The part about doing Barney is that I can be nervous as I can be. And the hardest part of mine, before I go out to perform anywhere, if it's in a stage show, in a church, or wherever it may be, the hardest part for me is the waiting to go out. Once I'm out there, I'm okay, but I am a total wreck beforehand. I take on the character so much, and like I said, hiding behind the character, I would just, cut up doing Barney lines, or what we call Barneyisms. The sniffle, the Mayberry sniffle, or the gestures, and some of the quotes that Barney would quote.
Could you give us an example of a Barneyism?
Barney was real like he was insecure, but he come across by being real cocky. Well, the head shake's probably the most notable one of all of them. He'll just, he's all the time like the Mayberry sniffle, he's all the time doing that. The tugging of the belt, that's a Barneyism. The Barneyism from the quotes, Barney misquoted so many things. I'll say things all the time. People don't catch them sometimes. I'll say, that's very therapeutic. Well, that's a Barneyism. And you're obtuse, that's a Barneyism.
Tell me how you got the uniform together, because that's a big part of what Barney Fife is.
I have 4 uniforms, and they're not costumes. My wife, Dawn, she sometimes kids me and says, your costumes are ready at the cleaners. And I say, they're not costumes, they're uniforms. And so I have to correct her on that. But I got them, the actual uniforms are really well made. Barney used genuine whiplash cord. Mine's not genuine whiplash cord. Mine are actually authentic police uniforms that I bought from police supply stores over the last few years. The hardest part of what I've got is the belt and things. I'm a real stickler. I'm kind of OCD on some things I wanted to get the belt and everything just like what Don Knotts had. And I've had several people that's helped me with acquiring the exact replicas or just like it. And the hardest thing was the pistol. Don Knotts used a Colt Official Police pistol. And then I have another pistol that I carry just as a tribute to my daddy. It was his pistol, which is a Smith & Wesson Model 10 that I do some performances with it. Yeah.
Tell me about the car.
We have a '64 Ford Galaxy. And we do parades. We've shot several commercials in Nashville, Atlanta, Charlotte. It's a replica. There is no cars that were actually on the shows around anymore.
Sammy, I've had the pleasure of getting to see you at some of your events. When you're going to do those events, what is it that you want to bring out?
Well, I think number one, I try to be a light. That's one thing I've always told my kids when they go in. I've let them off at school of a day is be a light. And if whether I'm there 10 minutes or I'm there for an hour, for just a few minutes, let's let you have a little bit of a release. I use a life verse. It's actually on the Bible.
Let me tell you something. I share this everywhere I go. Now remember, Proverbs 17:22. The Bible says a merry heart or laughter does us good like medicine. Folks, you realize God said it's okay to smile, laugh, and have a good time. Yeah, even in church.
Everybody needs a release. A lot of people are hurting. And so I think for just those few moments, I just want to convey to them, let's smile, let's laugh, let's have a good time. The word to, when you entertain, it means that you are distracting someone. And that can be a good and a bad thing, but just for a few minutes, let's have a distraction and just have a little have fun.
How easy is it for you to be Barney and then go to Sammy?
Yeah.
And then Barney and then to Sammy?
Once I put the uniform on, it's like that persona just takes over. I've got so many stories of things that I've done as Barney that I would never do as myself. So the transition, when I put the uniform on, I'm more like Barney than I probably want to be. I obviously look more like him than I probably want to be. But sometimes, I have to get away, and I don't want to be a recluse, but I like my downtime too, because I don't. Sometimes you just, you're so drained because you're constantly laughing or making people laugh. So.
Did you ever get to meet Andy or Don?
I'd never got to meet Andy Griffith. I did have the privilege of seeing Don Knotts in person 3 times, and I got to meet him and talk to him on one occasion back in 1995 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. There were 16 of the original cast. Well, I got to meet the rest of them, and that was nice. I just kind of brushed by them, but I stood where Don Knotts was at the longest and just waited till my turn to get to talk to him and speak with him. Very, very humble, everything I'd expected him to be. Very nice. I was so nervous. When I first got up to him, I stuttered around and I patted him on the back and I said, "God bless you, Mr. Nonsense."
Why do you think the show is still so revered and still so very popular?
Yeah, the quality of it is good. It's well made. It was well written, and the character actors within themselves are second to none. If it started to show just like that today, it would hit. And you and I both know that shows sometimes don't hit that are good quality. It just takes something. But the smartest move I think the show ever made, and it was Andy Griffith, and this is the kind of guy that he was from the standpoint of, he was the star of the show, but he allowed other people to blossom and grow in that. After I think the first episode, or in that first season, he's seen that he needed to be the straight guy and let Don Knotts be the comedy part of it.
It would be my honor if you would end this Tennessee Life show as Barney.
Oh, well, I guess that's it for Tennessee Life, and it's time to nip it in the bud.
Look for Sammy as Barney at events throughout Tennessee, and he hopes to one day write a book about using biblical principles to lead a successful life. We hope you've enjoyed the humor, beauty, and courtside stories on our program. I'm Vicki Lawson. See you next time on Tennessee Life.
Tennessee Life is sponsored by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. NextToNewKnox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations. KnoxvilleFlowerPot.com.